A very good morning to you, saints. I pray you are well and welcome to our last day in this prayer week where we were praying, reflecting, and meditating upon this big subject titled vision. And this is emanating from Proverbs 29, verse number 18, which says, "Where there is no vision, people cast off restraints." Another translation, it says, "Where there is no divine guidance, people perish." Now, during the course of the week, we learned that the essence of vision in our spiritual walk is divine guidance or direction. The essence of vision in our spiritual walk is divine guidance or divine direction. So where the writer says, where there is no vision or where there is no divine guidance, people perish. In other words, we're saying where there is no divine guidance or divine direction, people live carelessly. And that level or that kind of living, it is very costly at all levels. Now, today's focus is on the revelation of God. Today's focus is on the revelation of God. What then is the relationship between the revelation of God and vision? This is how I would simply put it. The unfolding of a vision must at the end reveal the God of great grace. The unfolding of a vision must at the end reveal the God of great grace. In simple words, we're saying, as the visions of God unfold before us, may they bring us to a better understanding of who God is. May they bring us to a better comprehension of God and God's ways in our lives. And this must translate into a stronger faith, into a stronger confidence in God. Our anchor text for today is emanating from Exodus 39, verse number 43, and Exodus chapter number 40, verse number 34. Now, the context around this passage of the text has everything to do with God laying a vision upon the heart of Moses, a vision of building a sanctuary, also known as the tabernacle or God's earthly dwelling place. That's why Exodus 25, verse number 8, it says, "Then God said to Moses, tell the children of Israel to build me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them." Now, let me highlight this very important thing concerning a vision. Every vision addresses either a problem, a need, or an issue. Every vision comes in to address a problem, a need, or an issue. And you find this pattern across the scripture. When God laid a vision upon the heart of Nehemiah of rebuilding the walls and rebuilding the gates that were broken down and bent down, that vision came in to address a problem. There was a problem in Jerusalem, and the problem was that of reproach. There was no security, there was no safety for the inhabitants of Jerusalem, to the extent that history tells us that enemies would walk into Jerusalem at nighttime at free will because there were no borders, there were no walls, there was no security. And sometimes they would get into the city, rape the daughters of Jerusalem, murder them, and Israel would wake up to dead bodies on the streets in the morning. That was a problem that Nehemiah's vision was coming in to address. When God called Esther, that vision that God laid upon the heart of Esther, it came in to solve the problem. The Jews were about to be killed, to be destroyed completely as a nation. So that vision is coming in to solve a problem. When God laid a vision upon the heart of Joseph, which took almost 14 years to come to fruition, that vision came in to solve a problem. At the end, that's why we hear Joseph saying, all these things have happened for the salvation of many people's life. So every vision comes in to solve a problem. So that same pattern applies to the account of Moses, the building of the tabernacle. The vision that God laid upon the heart of Moses concerning the building of the sanctuary, it was coming in to solve the problem. What was the problem? It was the problem to do with Israel approaching God. Now, Israel, having spent 430 years in Egypt, Israel adopted some of the ways of the Egyptians' way of life, Egyptians' way of worship. So Israel had no proper ways or structure of approaching God. So the building of the sanctuary, it came in to establish Israel's ways of approaching God, and it was a sacrificial way of approaching God, and that system needed a place, and that place is what is called the tabernacle or the sanctuary. Now, from Exodus 25, chapter number 25, up to Exodus chapter number 40, we find Moses working on the vision. We find Moses attending to the things that God laid upon his heart. Now, as Moses was attending to that, when you come now to the conclusion of chapter number 34, the Bible then says, then Moses inspected the work and saw that they had done it just as the Lord had commanded. So Moses blessed them. Chapter number 40, verse number 34, it says, then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. And the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. So in the unfolding of this vision, we find Israel now developing or having a revelation of God, because it was through the cloud that filled the tabernacle that Israel now understood that God is in our midst, that God is at work in our life as a nation, to the very extent that in the journey of the wilderness, every time the cloud rested upon the tabernacle, Israel camped. And every time the cloud moved, Israel would break camp and move in the direction of Canaan. So the cloud now brought in a revelation of God to the nation of Israel. But this was now a byproduct of the vision that God laid upon the heart of Moses. That is why we are saying that the unfolding of a vision must at the end reveal the God of great grace. What then am I saying to you and I? As the vision of God is unfolding in your life, upon your family, and upon our church, may it bring in a better understanding of God. May it bring to us a better comprehension of who God is. Now, there is also a pattern in the scripture around this. Every time the visions of God unfolded, they brought in a dimension of God. They brought in a dimension of God, of the being of God and the ways of God. That's why in the account of Joseph, when that vision was unfolding, at the end, it brought in a revelation of God. That's why Joseph could say, all this happened for the salvation of people's life. When you look at the life of Paul, the unfolding of the vision of God upon the life of Paul, it brought in the light of the gospel to people that were living in darkness. So in other words, people developed a better understanding of God. People developed a comprehension of who God is and the ways of God. Through the vision that God laid upon the life of Jesus himself, it brought in the revelation of God. We are now able to understand who God is. We are now able to understand the ways of God. So in simple words, the unfolding of a vision must at the end reveal the God of great grace. Your vision could have something to do with your life as an individual, your family, or as a church. Or sometimes your vision, it has everything to do with making a difference to other people's lives in our communities. But listen to me, brothers and sisters, at the end of it all those visions must bring you to a place of knowing, of understanding, and also of embracing God better than before. So as you're going to be praying today, I want you to focus on the revelation of God. I want you to focus on that revelation building in you a stronger faith and a stronger confidence in God. The revelation of God. May God bless you. May God keep you. Until we meet again, this is Pastor Danny.